Last year when I was unhooking my Blue Ox weight distribution hitch, I had an accident that put me in the hospital with 6 stitches, 5 broken teeth, and about $10,000 worth of bills. I made a video about exactly what I did wrong. I'll put a link to that in the description below. I've learned a lot since that time, and in this video I just want to show you the safest way that I know how to use your Blue Ox weight distribution hitch. So if that's what you want to see, stay tuned. Okay, you might be wondering, why am I watching a video about an Airstream and a weight distribution hitch on a channel called Digital Barbell? Well, my wife Blakely and I own an online training and nutrition company. We're full-time coaches, but we also like to spend as much time as we can out in our Airstream. So there you go. All right, so a couple things before we start. You'll notice that I have some Lego blocks under my tongue jack. This is important because as you jack up your trailer to load up your weight distribution bars, you don't want the shaft on your jack to be super long. So it takes out some of that slack by putting some blocks underneath it. Secondly, you'll notice I've got the truck in position underneath the tongue. I like to put the ball towards the front edge of the tongue. We'll see if this works or not, but when you put the ball all the way to the back of the tongue, I find that this latch does not work very well. So that's why I've got this set up. Okay, now that I've got the ball about where I want it to be, I'm gonna go ahead and put the weight distribution bars on now so I don't have to mess with it once the jack and the truck are up in the air. So from here on out, I would highly recommend having a set of work gloves to do all this stuff in. You'd be surprised how many times you will pinch your finger. Also, in case you didn't know, and your Blue Ox hitch is kind of noisy, there's actually a grease fitting on each side that makes them work smoothly. They do get dry over time. All right, so when we put the weight distribution bar on, there's this U-bolt that goes all the way through the bar. We want the top of that U facing up because that's where the chain needs to come out of. But we're going to attach this end first. I like to store these pins in the bar so that I don't lose them. And honestly, this is one of the most challenging parts of the process, is lining up this hole. It doesn't matter which way you put the pin in from. All right, that's in. Let's move around to the other side. All right, same story over here. Top of the U face up. Line up the holes. Here's a little tip for you. They sell these pins anywhere you can buy trailer related stuff. Get a couple extra ones, because if you lose this on the road, you're hosed. All right, at this point in the game, the stakes get a little bit higher. We want to be ready. So I've already got my wrench out that we're going to use to tighten down the chains. I don't want to have everything ready to go and go searching for the wrench. So that's where we're at. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to lower the trailer down onto the ball. Let's see if I got it in the right place. Nope. Gonna have to back the truck up an inch. One important thing to note before we get too far into this is the safest way to connect and disconnect your weight distribution hitch is when your truck and trailer are straight and when they're on the same level together. You don't have to be perfectly flat, meaning level, but you can't have your truck at an angle like this, your camper at an angle like this. If you connected your truck to your trailer at home and it was nice and flat, and you get to your campsite and your truck is going to be at an angle like this, I would recommend making a lap, finding a flat spot, disconnecting your weight distribution hitch there, go to your campsite and finish your setup. So before we get into this next step, I think we have to talk kind of about what's the point of a weight distribution hitch anyway. With our 2016 F250 diesel, we're pulling a 2023 Airstream 27-foot International. I found out by taking it to a cat scale that it has a tongue weight of about 1,150 pounds. Well, the payload capacity on our truck is only around 2,000 pounds. So 1,100 of that is eaten up just with the tongue weight. That's not including all the toys and things that we put in the back, plus the weight of my wife and I and our 2 dogs. So without the weight distribution hitch, when we put the trailer down onto the truck, we get quite a bit of sag. And I know from weighing it on the cat scale that we have quite a bit of weight come off the front wheels. That's not a good situation if you're towing. So what a weight distribution hitch does is allow you to hopefully transfer some of the weight from the rear of your truck up to the front of your truck. In an ideal world, you'd have about 1/3 of the weight on the drive axle of the truck, 1/3 of the weight on the steer axle, and 1/3 of the weight back on the trailer axle. I can't reach that exact ratio with my truck because the trade-off is the tighter you make your weight distribution hitch, the more tension you put on it, the more stress you're putting on the front of your trailer. And I'm not willing to put a ton of extra stress on the front of our Airstream and risk damaging it just to move even more weight to the front of the trailer. Another goal you should have when setting up your trailer is that when you're completely hooked up, your trailer is level. And how are you going to find that? Well, you're going to have to do a little bit of experimentation as how high you set your ball and how tight you make your weight distribution hitch. So the settings that I'm using in this video, I found work best for me. You might have to consult a professional to find out yours. All right, let's see how we did. All right, so all I'm looking for here is that the tongue completely comes off the blocks and that there's no weight on them. So now that the trailer is sitting completely on the ball of the truck, I'm gonna latch the tongue. Now I'm gonna start raising the trailer up, and I'll stop in a second and tell you why. The goal of lifting the truck and the trailer up in the air is so that I can get this chain on the weight distribution bar, connect into the link that I wanna use in this bracket without there being tension when I'm connecting it. That way, when I lower the trailer down, there'll be tension. So the only way to find out sometimes is to experiment. I use the 9th link on my chain and I put a zip tie on there so I always know which one to use. Now the place that I screwed up when I got hurt in my accident was that I did not have this in the correct position, and I ended up having to wrench it around with a bunch of muscle power. And then when I released the pin, there was all this tension on here and this bar came up and whacked me underside the chin. But we're not gonna let that happen to you. So what I wanna do is pull this chain up here, put this diagonally face down like this, put this link into the 9th slot. You'll know what this looks like when you have your own blue ox. Loop this chain over the top of here. And now this is going to tell me whether I have the truck high enough or not. When I go to try to turn this counterclockwise, it's either going to be easy or it's going to be hard. That's got a little bit more tension on it than I would like, so I'm going to raise the truck a little bit higher. All right, let's try it again. You see how easy that was? Now the chain is permanently connected to this bracket, and when I lower it down, this bar is going to bend and the tension is going to be loaded. Let's go do the other side. All right, so we're going to point this A facing about like that. I'm going to feed the chain over the top. I'm going to go for that 9th link in my setup. Yours may be different. Let me give you a close-up of what this looks like here. Just like that. Now, if we still have the trailer high enough, this should turn really easily. There we go. That's all the tension that you should feel when you're tightening that. All right, the next step is to lower the trailer back down. By the way, it's about 7,000 degrees out here in the hill country of Texas in June. I was recording this with my phone, but it kept overheating, so I had to switch to the GoPro. Hopefully you can still hear me. As I lower this down, you should see these bars start to bend. There we go. That's the entire setup. You still got to do your chains and your lights and your breakaway cable and all that kind of stuff. But now some of the weight of this tongue is being transferred up to the front wheels. It's going to vary in your setup, but that's how it's done. Now, if you're going to get hurt doing this, it's probably going to be in the part where you're taking it apart. That's what happened to me. So let's show how you safely unhook. Reminder in case you forgot, when you go to unhook, make sure your truck and your trailer are level with each other and that your truck is not pitched like this with the butt down, or you're gonna be in trouble, trust me. If you absolutely are in that kind of situation and there's nothing you can do, you can back your rear tires of your truck up onto some blocks to eliminate some of it, but that's still a little bit sketchy. Do what you can to unhook when you're level. All right, let's safely unhook this thing. Let's just pretend like it's just like we left it, where all the weight is on the weight distribution bars in the truck. There's nothing here on the tongue jack. All we're gonna do is we're gonna start to jack the trailer up. We're gonna try to aim for about as high as we were, but I'm gonna show you how you know if you're in the right spot or not. So the first thing I'm looking for is that I know these bars were straight when I put them on. So I'm just kind of eyeballing to see when there's enough weight off these bars that they're no longer bent and they're pretty straight. Okay, so I feel like I'm getting pretty close to having these bars straight, but let me show you the way to know for sure if you're safe to disconnect them or not. All you have to do to know if you're safe to release these bars because all the tension is off is try to wiggle them side to side. This one's not moving at all, so I know I still need to take the trailer even higher. There we go. See how it's moving? All right, so this part is important, so pay attention. This release pin right here is the thing holding this in place. As soon as you pull it out, whatever tension is stored up in here from the chain is going to release, and this is going to try to swing around. That's only dangerous because you're going to have this wrench connected to it. Ask me how I know. So what we want to do is we want to get this bar in a position to where if it did come loose for any reason in this direction, we're out of the way. So what I'm going to do is put the bar right here, face up like this, and I'm going to be way back here. out of harm's way when I pull this release pin. But since I did it right, there's almost no tension at all on there, and the chain falls right off. Let's go do the other side. Now, just because you wiggled the other side and you got it off safely, don't assume that this one doesn't have tension on it. Still check it. Looks good though. So I'm going to think about which way this is going to spin if there's any tension on it. I'm going to put the bar in a safe place that will never hit me. Stand back, pull the pin, and down we go. So the last thing we have to do to completely disconnect the trailer from the truck is just to drop it all back down. All right, now that the weight of the trailer is sitting back on the truck, this is disconnected from the trailer. All I gotta do is unlatch that, raise the trailer back up, and we're completely free. All right, all that's left to do is to pull the truck away, take the receiver off, and go enjoy the rest of my day. If you like this video, please push the little thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. If you need help with your health and fitness, we can do that too. Go to our website, digitalbarbell.com, check out some of our free resources, and subscribe to our podcast while you're there too. Have a good day.